The Raiders are double-digit underdogs coming up on Sunday versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So what will it take to pull off the big upset? That plus a whole lot more on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for October 25th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you chiming in and checking out the show, whether it's wherever you find your podcast, audio version, or if you're checking us out on YouTube. And you know, if you're checking us out on YouTube, it's because of my man, Ari. Ari does a great job behind the scenes, making sure we're looking good and sounding good. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. Check him out on Twitter at Ari Producers. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. We'll close out the show today with your calls and texts. I know we didn't have any on Thursday. It was the crossover edition. We were talking all things Chiefs and Raiders with Chris Clark, host of Locked On Chiefs. So we'll get back to your calls and texts. That'll be coming up as we close out the show today, 707-654-4693. Before that, we'll get into Keys to Victory. We do it each and every Friday or whenever right before the last show, right before the game, right? Whether that's Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Sunday, whatever the case may be, we always make sure we jump into Keys to Victory. What is it going to take? Raiders double-digit underdogs. So how do they overcome that? How do they pull off the victory and snap the 6-game winning streak that the Chiefs currently have going on? If you want to take it all the way back to last season, the Raiders were the last team to beat the Chiefs all the way back on Christmas in 2023. So that'll come up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here, right in segment number 1, we always give you the news and notes of the day. We'll injury report and a little bit more. We'll do that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use promo code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. I'll definitely tell you a lot more about them later on in the show, but let's go over the injury report for Wednesday and Thursday. I didn't get to talk about it on Thursday's show because we did have the crossover edition and didn't have enough time to go ahead and jump into it. So real quickly, I'll go over Wednesday and Thursday's injury report for both the Raiders and the Chiefs, and then later on today, we'll get an injury report, and then on Sunday, about 90 minutes before kickoff, we'll find out who is inactive. But here we go. For the Raiders, Wednesday and Thursday did not participate. Harrison Bryant with the elbow injury, the tight end. You saw him leave the game on Sunday versus the Rams and saw him holding his elbow, so he did not participate. Would not be shocked to see him ruled out either later on today or inactive on Sunday. Also did not participate Max Crosby, been dealing with the ankle injury. The good thing is he was a full participant on Wednesday, didn't participate on Thursday. Raider Nation, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, Max Crosby is going to be good to go. He probably won't practice today. Really not a guy that needs to practice. He's a guy that's going to be ready to go come Sunday. I have no doubt about that. Also did not participate Jacoby Myers, wide receiver, dealing with the ankle injury. He was limited on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. We'll see what happens. We'll talk to Antonio Pierce later on this morning. I'll get him his thoughts on Jacoby and if he should be good to go or not for Sunday. My gut feeling tells me he is going to play on Sunday. Again, limited participants. He hasn't played the last 2 weeks. He's been dealing with that ankle injury, but there's a good shot that Jacoby's going to come back, and that is needed, right? He needs to be out there. We know right now weapon number 1 for Gardner Minshew or whoever the quarterback is for the Raiders is Brock Bowers, the tight end, right? But you've got to have somebody else that's reliable. Jacoby Myers is reliable. Yes, Trey Tucker's out there with speed. DJ Turner's out there with speed. Christian Wilkerson is a veteran. He's been around the league a long time. But Jacoby Myers has been a number 1 wide receiver. He became a number 2 when Devontae showed up with the silver and black, but he can definitely be a guy who's a number 1 wide receiver. And against the Kansas City Chiefs and that stingy defense they have led by Steve Spagnuolo, they're going to need Jacoby out there. So my gut feeling tells me he is going to play, even though he didn't participate in practice on Thursday. Also, Dylan Parham, the guard, dealing with a foot injury, been the Achilles area, didn't participate on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. Probably be shocked if he plays on Sunday. Again, just going with my gut feeling. I don't know. No inside information. Jordan Meredith will probably slide into that position. And again, just another variation of the Raiders offensive line, right? I mean, Colton Miller, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Andre James, Jordan Meredith, DJ Glaze. That's what it's been the last couple of weeks. It's probably what it's going to be again, but still haven't had a chance to get that continuity amongst the team. So would not be surprised at all or shocked to see Dylan Parham not play on Sunday. Also, guys that were limited on Thursday. How about Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker, the rookie? He's dealing with a quad injury. He was limited. And Kanai Moaga, the knee injury, limited on both Wednesday and Thursday. Also, dealing with the knee injury. So there's that. Full participant. Adam Butler, who was dealing with the hip injury, was limited on Wednesday. Full participant on Thursday. That's a plus. And then Colton Miller, dealing with the elbow injury, didn't participate on Wednesday, was a full participant on Thursday. So he sounds like he's good to go. Gardner Minshew with the elbow injury, full on Wednesday, full on Thursday. Jacorian Bennett, knee injury, full on Wednesday, full on Thursday. And he's been the Raiders' best cornerback all season long. So I definitely want to see Zero out there. Agent Zero, right? Because that's basically what he's giving up a whole lot of nothing. And that's fantastic. A second-year guy, he's done a really good job in the secondary for the Silver and Black. For the Kansas City Chiefs, just looking at them real quick, defensive end Mike Denna, pec injury, didn't participate Wednesday or Thursday. Sounds like he's probably not going to go on Sunday. Juju Smith-Schuster, hamstring injury, the wide receiver, DNP, Wednesday and Thursday. He's not going to go. Justin Reed, the safety, has a hand injury, was a full participant on Wednesday, not listed on Thursday, so it sounds like he's good to go. And everyone else is a full participant. Kareem Hunt dealing with a hip injury, Leo Chenal, I should say, with a shoulder injury, full participant. McCole Hardman, knee injury, he was full. Jaden Hicks, the defensive back, full participant. Derek Nottie, full participant with a triceps injury. And Jared Wiley, the tight end with the Achilles injury, full participant on Wednesday and Thursday. Jared Wiley, I actually know him really well. He went to Temple High School in Temple, Texas. I actually covered him while he was there. Him and Quentin Johnston, who plays for the Chargers. And who else is in the league right now? There was a couple of guys. There was about 3 guys from that squad. Who else was it? And it was Quentin Johnston. It was Jared Wiley. There was one more dude that was from Temple that, man, I don't remember. Anyway, oh, yeah, I do. But he's not on the team anymore. That's why. And now I forgot his name. The Raiders had him on their squad. The defensive end, he went to Baylor, and he was on the Raiders, but he didn't make it coming out of training camp. So maybe that's why I forgot his name. But anyway, so there you go. Temple, Texas, represented with Jared Wiley. He's only got 1 catch on the season, but he's a pretty good blocker. So there's that added to the mix. So that is the injury report. Again, we'll get another one coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. We'll find out. And if you're following me on Twitter, at your boy Q254, you can check it out. I'll tweet it out there at RNR 920 AM. That's Raider Nation Radio 920. Put it out there as well. And like I said, on Sunday, around 90 minutes before, usually that's when it is, before kickoff, you'll get the inactives list, and we'll be able to tweet that out as well. I'll probably be at the Torch talking to a lot of you that are coming into town, and we'll be talking about who's active and who isn't. But the main for the Raiders, Jakobi Meyers. Jakobi Meyers needs to be a go. If you can get him back into the mix, Gardner Minshew has an opportunity, right? I mean, again, Max Crosby, he's going to go. I have no question about that. But if you can get Jakobi back into the mix at that wide receiver position, have at least a 1-2 punch that you can count on between Jakobi and Brock Bowers, that makes Trey Tucker, that makes DJ Turner, that makes those guys that much better, especially with that speed that they have. That will help out in a major way. So that's what I got for you for segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Coming up in the next segment number 2, what is it going to take? What is the blueprint to beat the Chiefs? The Raiders were the last team to do it. They did it back on December 25th, 2023. We'll talk about that. I've got the blueprint. It's not a lengthy blueprint. It's real basic. It's real simple. It's really coming up next in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple great sponsors here on the Locked On Raiders podcast, including the title sponsor, which is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions with a B of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You just pick out a couple players and you decide if you're going to run it or you're not going to run it. Like Justin Jefferson, more than 83.5 receiving yards. Patrick Mahomes, less than 267.5 passing yards. You can roll with that. And if you hit, bada boom, bada bing, you're going to win you some money. How about Tyreek Hill for more than 97.5 receiving yards? You know they got Tua back, so all of a sudden now Tyreek Hill's feeling good about himself. So maybe going for more than 97.5 receiving yards is what you're looking at. Saquon Barkley for more than 67.5 rushing yards. I would pretty much count on that. Running backs are back. Put some respect on the running backs' names. What do you have to do to get involved in this? And there's so many different options that you have. All you got to do is download the app today. That's the Prize Picks app, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. It's all lowercase to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. So what is the line? Don't forget the line. Prize Picks, run your game. I also want to tell you about Zbiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink by Zbiotics. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. So here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Zbiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. I actually had my man Vegas Jess, as I called him out, just having a fun time on a Crossover Thursday. On that episode, he was hit me on the text. He was like, wait, hold on. How do I get Zbiotics? What do I do? How does it work? Again, all you got to do is drink the pre-alcohol, right? For best result, you make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. You make sure you drink responsibly. That's the key. Drink responsibly and you'll feel all right. Pace yourself. Hydrate. Get a good night's sleep. That's very, very important. Don't want to see you sluggish at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday, and you'll wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. So how do you get your hands on it? Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On NFL. It's all one word at checkout. Zbiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to jump into the blueprint, man. The keys to victory. What is it going to take for the Raiders to get the dub over the Kansas City Chiefs? They're the last team to beat them back on Christmas in 2023. That's what the Raiders can hang their hat on. But, of course, Kansas City feels good about themselves because they went on to win the Super Bowl. Haven't lost a game since that upset in Arrowhead. So now the Chiefs come to Allegiant Stadium. As we all know, they've never lost there against the Raiders or anyone else, right? Obviously won the Super Bowl against San Francisco there in February. So obviously would love to see the Chiefs get their first loss there. And it's funny, on the crossover edition, we were going back and forth, me and Chris Clark, and we were talking about it, and my gut feeling was, man, the Raiders aren't going to win this one. They just haven't played a clean game. I just don't see it. But then, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I talked about it. I talked about it on my radio show on Thursday afternoon, and I told my man Ari, I said, man, I'm talking myself into how the Raiders are going to win this game because I know they have the talent to get it done. Right. And it's not like the Chiefs are playing lights out. Right. I mean, they're 6-0, but they easily could be, 1-5, 0-6, 2-4. I mean, there's a blueprint to how they could have lost. They haven't been playing lights out. And so, in my opinion, they're really due a loss. So as much as I told Chris Clark that I believe that, the Chiefs are going to win this game, it might not be by double digits, like they're double-digit favorites right now. I just feel like they're due. They're due a loss, and the Raiders are due something positive. They're winning. They're on a three-game losing streak. So how are they going to get it done? I'm not going to give you a complicated blueprint. I'm not going to break down offense, defense, special teams, coaches. I'm not going to do all that because I don't think this is one of these games. I think the blueprint's real easy. It's what we've been talking about. Just like I told Chris Clark on Thursday, play a clean game. Something that Antonio Pierce said to me when I asked him straight up. He's like, we just got to play a clean game. We got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. Penalties, turnovers, we can't do it. Right? And I mean, they're at a minus 13 turnover ratio right now. That's the worst, right? That's just something that they can't do. So they've got to play a clean game. And it's funny, I could break it down to you as much as possible, but Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Silver and Black, he was on my radio show on Thursday, and he actually broke it down himself, talking about the penalties and talking about the turnovers and talking about how that is shooting the Raiders in the foot, and that is how they are on their current 3-game losing streak. Check out. Here's Jason Horowitz.
You're talking about double-digit penalties in 2 of the last 3 games, the last 2 road trips, Denver and the Rams this past weekend. But even the game against Pittsburgh, it wasn't a big number of penalties. They just could not have been costlier. Mm-hmm. I think it was only 4 penalties for 42 yards, but 2 roughing the passers, 1 on Matthew Butler, 1 on Max Crosby. Both took away what would have been ending drives, right? One was an interception by Diablo, wiped off the board. The one by Crosby took off of what was a 3rd and 18 stop. Mm-hmm. Both of those led to Steelers touchdowns then. And then you also had an illegal man downfield, which wiped off a Raiders touchdown off the board. Like, you could not have. And then the 4th penalty was I think a holding call, mm-hmm. which wiped off a 30-yard Brock Bowers catch that would have started the second half. So, like, you could not have had 4 bigger penalties in one game. And so that's the ones that hurt the most. the turnovers have been egregious. Like this is not a good enough football team to win games where they are making that many more mistakes than their opponent, let alone 10 turnovers in 3 games, let alone what is tied to for the largest margin of turnover differential through 7 games in Raiders franchise history.
Right.
Minus 13 is the worst in the league, and it's the worst in Raiders history. So they can't overcome that. No team could overcome that. And so here you are, sitting at 2-5 with the Chiefs coming to town.
Love that breakdown from Jason. And obviously he's the voice. He's the guy that's going to be in the booth. You'll hear him on the radio side by side with Lincoln Kennedy, good friend of the show as well. And again, I mean, every team in the league is going to lose if they continue to do that, right? He broke down the penalties, how many they've been getting. Even when they only had 4 against the Steelers, they all came at the wrong time, right? And they took points off the board. They took the ball away from the Raiders. They extended drives for the Steelers. Like the worst case scenario, the worst timing they can have, they had. So that's one thing, right? And those turnovers, 10 turnovers the last 3 weeks, and even last week against the Rams. The Rams scored 20 points, and they scored all 20 off of turnovers. So you've got to play a clean game. And just to take that step a little bit further when it comes to turnovers and how bad they've been on this current 3-game losing streak for the Raiders, here's Amber Theo-Harris, who's been covering the NFL for a very long time, SiriusXM NFL. She's also part of the Silver and Black Show. She does that show with Eric Allen and James Jones at the Raiders facility. She was also on my radio show earlier in the week and was talking about the turnovers. Check it out.
The Silver and Black Show, I was preparing for it today, and I did a whole kind of monologue on, if you look at the defense, even with the backups and stuff, they haven't been that bad. I mean, they've given up 86 points over the last 3 games in this 3-game losing streak. 47 of those came off of turnovers, Q.
Right.
47.
Yeah.
So that's, I was told there would be no math. We all know that, when math is left up to me, the numbers get wrong.
Right. Me too.
But that's 39 points. That's only 39 points over 3 games where the Raiders defense actually made them work and they had to go all the way down the field. Otherwise, all these other points, the Raiders defense being put in a bad position, they're still the 12th ranked defense. There's there's problems on both sides of the ball. I'm not going to make it sound like this defense is excelling and doing great, but they're being put in tough positions, and the turnovers it doesn't matter what play is called. It doesn't matter if Luke Getsy is, sitting at the Golden Nugget calling plays. Doesn't matter where he is. If they turn the ball over, you're not going to have a productive offense.
So see, it's real simple, right? And I know that we're making it, and I'm probably making it sound easier than it is. Just don't turn the ball over and don't have penalties. But really, that's what it comes down to. You just can't do it. You're not good enough, right? There's certain teams, the Chiefs, normally, not this year, but normally they can have a 10-yard penalty and be first and 20, and they get a big chunk play. Versus, they get 25 yards, 30 yards, and they're able to score, right? How many times have you seen the Chiefs go up and down the field on 5 plays and score a touchdown? That's why we used to always talk about the Chiefs when the Raiders played them. You can't have a big 10 to 12 play drive, kick a field goal, because they'll come back at 2 or 3 plays and score a touchdown. And then all of a sudden you're still behind, right? So this is not the year that they're that quick strike offense like that. Now, can they have the opportunity to do that? Sure. Do I want the Chiefs to get right against the Raiders? No. I'm tired of the Raiders being the get right game, right? If they go out there and play defense, and they have done a really good job when they're not being put in bad positions, which is what Amber Theo-Harris was breaking down, that gives them a chance. It gives the Raiders a chance. But obviously the Raiders offensively got to be clean with the ball. That's on Gardner Minshew. And if he gets a little squirrely with the ball, maybe you see Desmond Ridder. Like, I don't think you will. I think he'll be a backup for this game on Sunday. But again, if Gardner starts getting that look in his eyes, that that deer in the headlight type look, then all bets are off. Then who knows what they've got to do. So that's first and foremost. That's point A. Penalties and turnovers. They've got to eliminate them as much as possible. 0 turnovers and eliminate the penalties as much as you can. Some penalties are going to happen. A holding can happen at any time. We know that. But false starts, 12 men on the field, right? Jumping off sides, penalty, illegal men down the field, ineligible receivers, that kind of stuff. Those you shouldn't have. That you just shouldn't have that. You've got to play more discipline than that. Also, you got to establish some sort of run game. The Chiefs have done a really good job this year stopping the run. I don't care, right? You had some success on the ground last week, and I know the Rams are a terrible rush defense. I get that. But when the Raiders beat the Chiefs, what did they do? They played clean football. They didn't have any penalties. Right, they got a couple touchdowns, put 14 points on the board by way of the defense, and they were able to run the ball for almost 150 yards. That's the recipe. You've got to get back to that. You've got to do that. And again, I know that the Chiefs are really good at stopping the run, and the Raiders' offensive line has not been very good. I get all that. But if you want to beat this team, if you want to have a chance to win this game, there has to be some resemblance of a run game. You've got to get 100 or close to 100 productive yards, not just garbage time stat stackers, right? You've got to get some productive yardage on the ground. You have to. You have to keep the Chiefs' offense off the field, and you've got to be able to own that time of possession because you're able to run the ball. So it's just that simple, man. The recipe was easy. The defense punched them in the mouth on Christmas. 14 points were created off defense. You can't count on that. I get that, right? I mean, think about that. In a matter of about 7 to 8 seconds, the Raiders had 14 points thanks to their defense. That's not something that you're going to count on. There was a fumble and then a Jack Jones pick six. But I will say this. It'd be a great game for Jack Jones to come up with and create a turnover, get an interception. You know Patrick Mahomes is going to throw it his way and give him an opportunity. Make a play. Somebody make a play. Who's going to be called upon on the defense to make a play? Right? Nate Hobbs got a tip drill interception last week, almost got it back to the end zone. Someone's going to need to score. Who on defense is going to say, hey, like they did in life, I'm the pappy. Who's going to say I'm the pappy and I'm the guy who's going to score? Somebody needs to step up and challenge each other in that locker room. I'm going to score today. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but somehow, some way, I'm going to score. Someone defensively needs to score. Again, you can't count on that. It's not like it's a part of the game plan. I'm just saying if the Raiders want a real deal chance of winning this game, they've got to force a couple turnovers on Kansas City, and ideally they take one back to the house. But penalties and turnovers have got to be eliminated and cut down as much as possible for the Raiders to have any opportunity in this game. The blueprint is not difficult. It's hard to execute. It's easy on paper. It's hard to execute against the 6-0 Chiefs. But if anyone could do it, the Raiders showed that they can do it, and it is about due time that the Chiefs continue to play their helter-skelter style of ball and their, down to the wire type of ball. It's about time that they get burned since they've been playing with fire all season long. Your calls and texts are coming up next, 707-654-4693. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about another great sponsor here on the show, which is FanDuel. And right now, it's never too late to jump into the NFL action. I know Week 8 is already underway. Thursday Night Football got going with the Vikings and the Rams. And, of course, what we care about the most is the Raiders and the Chiefs. And they were at, double-digit favorites. They were at 10. I believe they're down to 9.5 points. Maybe that's because the fine folks at FanDuel and all the other sports books realize Jacoby Myers is coming back, so it's a difference. But still, just about double-digit favorites for the Kansas City Chiefs. You got to go to FanDuel. FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sports book. You can check out everything you need to know for not only the Chiefs and Raiders, but every game on the docket throughout the course of Week 8. And maybe you'll get some kind of feeling in the middle of the game. Maybe the Raiders all of a sudden are looking really good in the first half, right? Get off to a good early start and start feeling good about them. Maybe at halftime you decide to make a decision. Well, all you got to do is get on the website, right? It's the same spot. You can check out all the latest stats, the live play-by-play. You can get so much more all in the same spot where you place your bets. It's real simple, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start out in H-Town. Sid in Houston. He's calling to talk about the upcoming game against the Chiefs and how he's feeling about it. Here he is, Sid in Houston.
Q, what up, my dude? It's Sid out of Houston, man. Hey, dude, man, listen. I know the season is, the season ain't going all like how it should go, and man, dude, but look, dude, if we could just win against Kansas City, dude, if we don't take another win for the rest of the season, but we win against Kansas City, I'll be cool with that, bro. I ain't gonna even lie, man. I'll be cool with that, dude. Yeah, I'll be cool with that. All right, man, that was it. Have a good day, bro. I'm out.
Sid, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. I hear you. I was thinking about it myself and talking about it on my radio show, and I talked myself into the Raiders winning the game. I know I said on the crossover Thursday I thought Kansas City was going to win, but I talked myself into it. And now, look, I might have fallen for a banana in the tailpipe, not going to lie. Obviously, in my heart, I want them to win. I want them to win every game, but I'm also, not unreal. I'm not. I like to live in a realistic world. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So as much as I know it's going to be a long shot, I know that there's a recipe to get it done. I talked about that in segment number 2. They obviously got to get off to a fast start too. That's something that I didn't even mention in segment number 2, but that kind of goes without saying. They've got to get off to a fast start. Snap that winning streak, man. The Chiefs have not lost at Allegiant Stadium. Let's break that, right? Let's come back on Monday and talk about that streak is over, right? The Raiders were the last team to beat them. Let's say that they beat them twice in a row. Like that'll be a fun conversation to have on Monday if the Raiders can find a way to pull it off. Sid, thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you. Got a real lengthy text here from Sub-Zero Radar. I've been holding on to this one for a couple days. Wanted to make sure to get to it, but it's very, very lengthy. So rock with me on this one. Hey, Q, first time, long time listener. I'm a 47-year-old Raider fan that have been a part of Raider Nation since I was knee-high. Moved to Nowhere, Wisconsin as a young teenager and went to see my Raiders in Lambeau. That at the time was the third coldest in Lambeau history on December 26, 1993. The game was the game of the original Lambeau Leap. My Raiders didn't fare well in that cold, but it was a game I'll never forget regardless. I hear a lot on the podcast and media about the quarterbacks, coach, Devontae, and other issues that are causing our current issues. Anyway, in my opinion, the Raiders' problems come down to one main issue, and that's the offensive line. I can't stress enough how this is impacting the rest of the team. The O-line play impacts the whole team, and I'll tell you why. 1, we are seeing a super inconsistent run game. Madison should be commended on finding the lanes he is when he does. It has been mostly of his own determination. We have been seeing 1 to 3 yard gains most of the time he runs the ball. I realize it is not 100% of the lines, but I challenge everyone to watch the tape. Our guys are getting blown off the line, missing blocks, assignments, and no push. My opinion is even if we had the best back in the league, we'd still be average at best. 2, we're not protecting the ball at all. So even with a mediocre quarterback, when each play the quarterback is under pressure, any dude and our dude will turn the ball over. Every team we have played, we have made their front D line look like all pros. It is sickening. By the way, what the heck happened to Colton Miller? Dude looks like a turnstile the last few games. He's supposed to be the anchor, not so far this year. And 3, the lack of consistency of getting third down conversions is resulting in the D being out in the field way too long. We're also starting to get a bunch of untimely penalties. We had a few line coaches in the year past that was able to at least get an average offensive line to work together and perform solidly. I think the quality and play of the O-line makes mediocre running backs and quarterbacks look horrible. This needs to be the focus to get better, as I feel like it's the reason we look so bad. I actually believe Gardner could be a serviceable quarterback if he wasn't running for his life on every play. I don't think he has the confidence in his game. Even if he has the skill, the line is way too porous. So that's the first 3 reasons. And look, run game, we talked about it. It's definitely inconsistent. The offensive line has a lot to do with that, protecting the ball. Talked about turnovers in segment 2. And third down conversions, I've talked about the fact that the Raiders need to have longer sustained drives. Talked about that. You're spot on with all that. He says, secondly, I think over the offseason, the extra coaches on staff was a good thing, but I think it also could be a handicap. Not 100% sure if this is true when the Raiders, but everyone has heard the phrase, too many chefs in the kitchen, right? I don't see how these dudes have made a difference being part of our team. It certainly doesn't seem to be impacting the play calling in any positive way, other than I guess we could be 0-7. I'll say as a leader of the people, I see the need for having good mentorship, but if it is my boat to captain, I want to be the only captain. Am I wondering if the influx of head coaching on staff is doing more harm than good? Anyway, Q, I'll continue to listen to the podcast. You bring positivity to what seems like another down year. Great job on the show and your continued elevation as the premier voice of the nation. Raiders. That's from Sub-Zero Raider. Really lengthy text. Thanks so much. I do appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, getting to the second point, the Raiders have 29 coaches on the staff, right? I thought that Marvin Lewis, Joe Philbin, I thought that was really good additions because they have the experience that AP doesn't have. I'm not too sure what their input is at this stage of the game. Obviously, Patrick Graham, longtime defensive coordinator there. He's been doing some really good things, and it's good to see the continuity there. But there are a lot of coaches on the staff that don't really seem to be, I don't want to say doing anything, but making a big difference is, I guess, the best way to word it. So I'm not too sure. Maybe there are too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm not too sure. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. At some point, AP's just got to trust AP to make the right decisions. And yeah, that's about it. But we'll see what it looks like coming up on Sunday, right? So thanks so much for that text. Definitely appreciate you. Just got time for a couple more. Wine Country Raider, he's calling to talk about AP and his coaching job and his status. Explains why a lot of folks need to calm down and let this thing play out. Here he is, Wine Country Raider.
What's up, Q? It's Wine Country Raider. Just calling in about this AP conversation, and I think everybody needs to really, calm down. I understand this season is really starting to slip away from us. But AP's a first-time head coach, and I don't know what Raider Nation is expecting, but I think they're like, whoa, we're going to get a new coach, and he's just going to take us to the Super Bowl right away. It's not going to work out that way. D'Amico Ryan's taking over and having success is like an anomaly, he's a first-time head coach. He's got to, figure it out. He's got to start getting experience. And, it's going to take some time. And the thing that Raider Nation has not had in forever is continuity, and we need that. So everybody who's calling for AP's job already, you got to calm down, because we're not going to win the Super Bowl getting a new head coach every 1 or 2 years. We got to build. We got to grow together as a team and as a franchise. I think that AP has the right mindset. I think AP has the players motivated. We just don't really have the players. That's the hard truth. Everyone's pointing at the coach, but the coach can only coach. The players got to play. We don't have, we need some people in certain positions like that, offensive line, quarterback. We need some guys to make this really work. And getting a new head coach and firing AP just because we didn't, go to the playoffs and challenge, Chiefs for first in the AFC or whatever, doesn't mean that we got to fire AP. We can't keep firing coaches. We need some continuity. We got to stick with some people and grow and not have to be learning a new system every freaking year. It's just like, we're not going to be good doing that ever. So everybody needs to calm down. You got to watch for certain players. We got to see who's going to be good, who's we can keep, who we need to move on from. That's what this season is about now. And just hope to see some players really blossom and see who we can keep and build with for the next year. All right, that's all I got. One Country Raider out. Thanks for all you do, Q. Peace out, Raider Nation. Just win, baby.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate you, my man. And yeah, I agree 100%. Especially with the convo of AP is going to lose his job. And look, I'm definitely not going to, as I've said many times, I talked about patience with Dan Campbell in Detroit. It obviously paid off. Not saying that AP is going to turn into Dan Campbell and have the Raiders in the championship game. Not saying that, but, I don't think anything is proven through 7 games. Right. And honestly, this has been a weird season. Doesn't feel like the Raiders have had their full kind of roster. It seems like a lot of weird has happened, right? But you can't blame injuries. You can't use that as an excuse or a crutch. You just got to go out there and do the best with what you have. I am by no means trying to say that AP is not right for the job, not trying to question him. I know some keep thinking that they hear that. They're not. I am definitely saying that everyone needs to be patient with him. I think that he's going to grow into a really good coach. He showed what he could do last year, and he's obviously having some growing pains right now, but there's a lot of reasons for that. So, again, I by no means am trying to push AP out the door or trying to question if he's good enough for the job or not. There's a reason why I said that I wanted him to get the head coaching job, because I thought he was the right guy for the job, and I still believe that until he proves otherwise. So there's that. But, yeah, I'm with you with the patience. That's all you can have. You can't have the consistent turnaround. You do that, it's just not going to work as far as I'm concerned. But thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you. And we'll get one more call since I had a real lengthy text. We'll get one more call from Raider Heesh. He's calling to talk about the season, Desmond Ritter, and a little bit more. Here he is, first-time caller, Raider Heesh.
Hey, Q, this is Raider Heesh. I just wanted to call in, first-time caller. Love the show. This season hasn't gone the way that we all wanted. It sucks. I actually thought the Raiders would be better than this year. Silly me, but now, like you said, it's evaluation mode, and honestly, I don't see a problem with just rolling with Desmond Ritter at this point. Like, we've seen Gardner Minshew this season, and he's been really, really bad. And to me, I don't see how Desmond Ritter can be worse than Gardner Minshew at this moment. I've spoken to Atlanta Falcons fans, and they've been telling me, oh yeah, he throws picks too, and blah blah blah. But at this moment in time, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to the playoffs. We're a 2-5 record. Why not kick the tires and just see what this kid can do? like you said, like he could end up being a really solid backup with we need in this league. So I would just roll with him and see what he can do. And, you know, if he can get us some victories, great. Like if not, as long as he shows that he can help move this offense in the right direction, even if we lose, it's fine. Like to me, that's more than, you know, what we're asking for, because we know we're not going to the playoffs. We know we're not like a great football team right now. But if he can just show that like he could be a good solid backup in this league, like I'd be happy with that. I'd take that. Because what Gardner Minshew is doing on the field, as you know, it's unacceptable. It's not to where, you know, what needs to be for this offense. So, you know, I'm hoping they roll with him soon and, you know, get this offense at least going somewhat, because I'm tired of seeing Minshew throwing stupid picks, like for no reason. Like, you know, when guys are wide open on the field, guys just throwing it into the defenders. Like it's insane. So, got to keep our heads up, man. You know, love the show. Hope you're doing well. Go Raiders.
Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. I think that's how you say his name, Raider Heesh. But thank you so much for being a first-time caller. Please don't let yourself be a last-time caller, man. Make sure you call in again. Definitely appreciate you. And, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Desmond Ridder, right? I'd be surprised if he goes into action this Sunday, and unless, you know, either Minshew gets hurt or he's just thinking it up. I think that if he ends up becoming a starter at some point this season, it'll probably be after the bye week. But that just makes me feel like he'll be up to speed 100%. Like, this is not an easy game just to all of a sudden walk in as a new dude and take on the Chiefs. Next week against Cincinnati on the road, not that easier either. But, you know, all of a sudden you're with the team 3 weeks, you have a bye week and get 100% of the first team reps and all that. I can see it making a much easier transition coming out of the bye week. And they have Miami there in South Beach. So I can see that being the blueprint. But all bets are off. Because if Gardner Minshew goes out there, stinks it up, has that blank look on his face and that deer in the headlight type look, I can see AP saying, you know what, screw it. Need someone in there quick, fast, and hurry that can make it happen. So, Raider Heesh, thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate all the feedback on the show that we get each and every day, even on Twitter at your boy Q254 or at Ari Produces. You can hit us up both. And, of course, the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Raider Nation, have a fantastic weekend. We'll be at Cruston Rue in Town Square if you're coming into town for the game. Check us out on Saturday starting at 5 o'clock. Me, Vinny Bonsignor, and many others from Raider Nation Radio 920 and plenty of Raider Nation fans will be there in the building too. Come on by. And if you don't get a chance to come on by then, come on by the Torch on Sunday morning. I'll be there for Q's kickoff, the pregame to the pregame show starting at 10 a.m. So I'll be there up until about 10, 15 minutes before kickoff. So I would love to meet you. Would love to say what's up. Appreciate you listening to the show whenever you do for however long you do. Definitely appreciate that. So we'll be back on Monday for sure. Hopefully handing out game balls, and hopefully this 3 games losing streak, I should say, is over, and the Raiders have snapped that. And like I said, we hand out the game balls, and Kansas City is 6-1 on the season. But that all come up on Monday, Raider Nation. So until then, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.